Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out ExpressVPN.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Kia ora, Bolt fam. It's the Director. Chargers fans. We're going to cover it, right? We're going to cover it. You guys knew this was coming. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Instagram. I'm getting hit up all the time here on Twitter as to what I think about the situation developing with Ndamukong Suh. The Chargers back in the headlines as a potential big free agent destination. You guys will see down here that ESPN's Mina Kimes tweeted a few days ago that she talked to Ndamukong Suh, pitched him on the idea of joining the Los Angeles Chargers, and he responded as he would be very intrigued in joining the Bolts. That's a pretty big one, guy. You guys remember the run defense from last year? Atrocious. That's probably the single worst aspect from the 2021 season that could potentially be carried over to this season. I feel like we nipped it in the bud pretty well early on in the offseason, but honestly, a move like this could really take us over the top. And, you know, we got positive response from Suh. He wants to keep playing. An older player that wants to keep playing at his age does carry out some, I would say, traits or, I don't know, just things that usually happen. What usually happens is a player like this looks for a team where he wants to spend his twilight years, the last couple of years in his career potentially, and really make the most of it. The Chargers right now, definitely a playoff contender, and we're very close to being viewed as serious Super Bowl threats throughout the league, and not just by Chargers fans, okay? Suh would be a big step in that direction, and he carries a very unique skill set that, you know, could really take this defensive line, and again, more specifically, this run defense to another level. I don't just want to, you know, be better versus the run. I really want to completely turn that over, just like Brandon Staley did with the offensive line a couple of years back. So is this a move that the Chargers should make, you know, especially with interest being openly expressed by the player? And is this something that I think the Chargers could realistically do? All right, so let's get into it. Before we do, question in the comments. This one's actually kind of interesting. Would you rather sign Suh, let's say, to a small one-year rental deal, or an average right tackle around the same annual price? Let me know in the comment section below. Before we do kick off, guys, hit us up with a like and sub. If you do enjoy this Chargers content, the small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. Ndamukong Suh to the Los Angeles Chargers. Could it happen? Should it happen? Let's dive right in. And why are we looking at a picture of, you know, Ndamukong Suh with the Las Vegas Raiders? Well, the first thing I do want to get out of the way here is that the Chargers are not the only name in the hat, right? I wanted to make it known that the Chargers are not the only team of interest to Ndamukong Suh. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this off for a second so you can see his little tweet here saying that the Raiders could be fun. Well, if I needed any sort of motivation, it would be to keep superstars like that away from our rival teams. But that's just one reason why. That shouldn't be the only reason you go after a player like this. There are also reports that he's been looking at the Vikings as well, okay? But one thing for sure, you know, it seems that he is moving on from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has expressed interest in the Chargers, and that does open a door and a window for the Chargers to potentially make a move. Now, there's going to be some people saying that Ndamukong Suh, 35 years old. He's old. I don't know if we want a player like that on the roster. I'll say that he's old, but not obsolete, okay? Suh has had a pretty remarkable career. I think a lot of people know this beforehand, right? Logging 70 sacks in his career, a whopping 135 tackles for loss. Absolutely insane from interior defensive linemen, right? And he has slowed down a little bit. Age 35 in the NFL, you might as well be 75 out there trying to take down the quarterback, but he's still playing at a very impressive level, even in his recent career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think last season, 6 sacks, 7 for loss, 13 quarterback hits, looked really, really good. He's anything but done. He's one of those rare players that you look at the age 35 and you say to yourself, man, dude, I think he's still got something to offer here for the next couple of seasons, not just for 1 year, but maybe a couple of seasons. And I think, you know, if the Chargers, let's say, were to go after a player like Calais Campbell over this past offseason, I think since he's removed from the other I would say, drama, which we'll get to in just a second with Ndamukong Suh, people would have been really excited in an addition like that, even though he is 35 years old, because again, they carry a lot of the same traits and traits that the Chargers could desperately need in improving their defensive line. At 6'4", 314 pounds, he still moves pretty shockingly well as well. But I do think the biggest thing I wanted to bring up, because again, this is one thing with the Chargers that you always have to look into when even, thinking about adding another player to the roster. Perhaps the most shocking stat of all is that Suh has never missed a game due to injury in his illustrious 12-year career. He has not gone down once. How insane is that? This dude has been playing in the league longer than, any of our rookies combined, any of our 3 years player combined. It's absolutely insane to think that he has remained healthy this long. And at the top of that, I do think I remember reading an article that he did play through an injury, but never left the field in his recent seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This guy is tough as nails. He's very, very durable, even at 35. These are good traits that you're looking for if you are a Los Angeles Chargers fan. Now, to move on to what he could bring, right? He's an archetype superstar. And what I mean by that is that different players at the same position can often offer different things, right? From the interior defensive line, some teams look for pass rushing capabilities, run stopping capabilities, etc., etc. I feel like Ndamukong Suh is sort of the best of both worlds, right? Suh offers a lot in terms of rushing the passer from the interior. Obviously, with 6 sacks last season, the dude has still got it, and he's been doing this a long time. But perhaps his best trait has always been his ability to dominate against the run. And again, this is something that the Chargers really, really needed to improve on this offseason. In his time with the Lions, the Dolphins, the Rams, right, and then most recently the Bucs, he's been one of the league's most dominant run stoppers. And I'm sure, again, this is a very unsurprising fact to most NFL fans, even outside of Chargers fans. The Chargers defense last year really sucked versus the run. Really, really bad, okay? Sure, we've taken strides in improving that stat. Sebastian Joseph, Dawson Johnson, among others, should really give this line a serious boost. But even with these additions, I feel the Chargers could use just one more big talent to really go from worst to first in run defense. Hence why I was pounding the table for Akiem Hicks earlier this offseason. Even with those additions, I was like, man, just one more guy, one big vet, getting him there on the line, even in, a limited role, could really help the Chargers improve that run defense stat. And Akiem Hicks, if you guys didn't know, is also a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think, as of right now, which we'll get to in just a sec. Let's get to it right now, right? A working strategy. Speaking of the Buccaneers, this is a working strategy when it comes to older vets along the defensive line, right? And the Bucs are a great example of this. You'll find examples of this sprinkled out throughout the league, but the Bucs are very habitual with this, right? They utilize the talents of guys like JPP, Suh, and now Akiem Hicks to mix in with their young dudes. And these guys can usually be signed at a decently low price. I think the last contract for Suh was in the realm of $9 million. I think $8 million before that. Not too shabby, right? And this also, doing that at a cheaper price while also providing stability up the middle on a one-year rental is never a bad idea. But most of all, I think the reason that they do this, which is actually very intelligent, is that these guys do offer elite mentorship to young members of the team. Former Suh teammate Vita Vea, I'm sure a lot of people know that name. Even for a defensive lineman, it's impressive, how much of a household name he is. Vita Vea has developed into one of the league's best run stoppers in the NFL. He is absolutely insane. One of the most talented defensive linemen in the league. And his talent as a player, I know, is very well known and respected, but I can't help but feel that Suh's mentorship had something to do with it on some level, okay? And the Chargers, I think, also do believe in this philosophy. They got guys like this sprinkled all over the roster. Bryce Callahan is going to provide excellent mentorship for guys like Asante Samuel Jr., maybe even a little bit of J.C. Jackson, who is among the league's best. You got guys like Khalil Mack, who's going to be a great mentor for guys like Chris Rumph and other edge defenders. Kyle Van Noy, Corey Linsley, heck, even Chase Daniel, the mentor for our quarterback. is definitely there for a reason. And these guys can really help elevate the play of their younger teammates. And that's something that could have, pretty heavy repercussions for the Chargers going forward. Positive consequences, I should add. And it would make a lot of sense for the Chargers to bring in a big-name vet for the defensive line as well. Not just these other positions, which are going to see a lot of help, especially in terms of what they offer as a mentor. This unit has some solid pieces to work with. But even a one-year deal with Ndamukong Suh could really help shape these young players that we've signed, these new players that we've signed on the defensive line for years to come. Sebastian Joseph Day, Austin Johnson, both these guys a bit younger. Bringing in a guy like Suh could really help their development and boost their development even over one season. Not to mention the other young guys that we got on the roster like Braden Fayoko. I feel like just throwing him in the mix will help the Chargers run defense now, as well as help better arm themselves with the knowledge and experience of a vet like Suh for years to come. It really is sort of a long-term, or the foresight, kind of strategy in making sure the future is as well covered, because Suh does have a lot to offer in that arena. Now, what have you done for me lately is going to be a big question I feel is going to be asked, right? Like, Ndamukong Suh, great mentor, right? He's still playing at a pretty big level. Like, what has he been doing right now to justify a deal with the Chargers, who are looking at the postseason? I'm pretty sure the Super Bowl. This is the biggest thing to consider right now, right? What can Suh offer in 2022? And this is a huge year for the Chargers. We need players that can help us in 2022 right now. And this is where Suh's true value, I think, will shine for a team specifically like the Bolts. Suh is still a very dominant run stopper. But on top of this, his ability to get to the quarterback still right now is a dangerous trait to combo with the other guys we have on this defensive line, right? And on top of that, he's having his size paired with dudes like Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack is a very serious threat. Suh will not be an every down player. I got to get that into the brains of everybody thinking like, Suh's going to be in there all the time, wrecking havoc. Nah, he's older. He's going to be rotated, right? Hence why we can justify a smaller contract, justify his age, et cetera, et cetera. He's going to be in when needed. But when he doesn't have to be, on the field, this unit can have his back in the meantime. Rotating with guys like Morgan Fox, Braden Fayoko, Christian Covington, that's a given. That would happen if Suh joined the roster. And this really helps the Chargers get the best out of an elite vet like Ndamukong Suh. It puts Suh in a great position, to play maybe the amount that he wants, earning the money that he wants, not risking injury, which again is not the biggest thing to worry about with a player like Suh, which is absolutely insane. It's a good situation for the player as well as a good situation for the team in adding help where they desperately need it. His early down and obvious rundown play will take the Chargers to that next level we've been talking about. But when he's on the sideline, it's not like we don't have capable backups. Just as I view Kyle Van Noy as a quality vet to keep the Chargers pass rush consistent, with Khalil Mack or Joey Bosa having to step off the field at any given time, Kyle Van Noy is going to be a very nice piece to really keep that heat and that pass rush ability present throughout the entire game. I would view Suh as doing the same for the Chargers run defense, right? Keeping him in there, making sure that him and the other quality backups rotating in will constantly make sure that run defense is as good as it can possibly be throughout the game consistently. And I do like that quite a bit. But a big thing that, when I put this tweet out, right, the one that you saw at the top of the show, and Ndamukong Suh to the Chargers, I would be all about it. Probably the biggest area of concern that I got from Chargers fans, I had people DMing me about this, I had people, even I got emails about this, was whether or not the Chargers would accept a guy like Suh given his characteristics, his character in the past. He has done some things that I'm sure no player would be proud of. So big plays and big attitude, right? One thing I wasn't going to ignore about this player is his character. Suh, which I remember playing even earlier in his career, he left an early impression on me as a football fan, okay? More specifically, the infamous Aaron Rodgers stomping. You guys remember that? Ndamukong Suh gets the sack, Aaron Rodgers on the ground. Suh comes in there and just cleats the guy's ankle. And it's pretty evident it was on purpose. I really couldn't believe my eyes. It was one of the most atrocious things that I had ever seen as a football fan, as a sports fan. I'm not a Packers fan, mind you, but I was furious nonetheless on the behalf of a guy like Aaron Rodgers. We know how valuable that player is to the league, to that team. Super disrespectful, and it left an imprint on who Suh is as a player, and I never, ever wanted him anywhere near my team, given that sort of unsportsmanlike, attitude. I hated that, and this is something you'll find all over Suh's resume. Right? It's not the first time. It wasn't the last time. And he was just he kind of became known for being, the dirty play defensive lineman. And I'll be the first to admit this was a huge issue for me when I first saw that he was intrigued by the Chargers. I was like, there's no way, man. The Chargers are not the sort of team to add a player with question marks like this, especially with how big they are in his past. Because our locker room is among the most upstanding that you're going to find in the entire NFL. These are some quality stand-up dudes. And this culture is something that I am not willing to disturb for any level of talent. However, that being said, because I'm sure some of you guys right now smashing the keyboards like, keep this guy away, keep the upstanding citizen Chargers locker room intact, do not taint it with the poison of an attitude like Ndamukong Suh's. Let me add this, okay? In my research, I did stumble on Suh talking about the situation, his past a little bit. And he admitted that his attitude was something he was embarrassed about and that he was working on. And this was a pretty ways back, man. This was a while back, like 2016, 2017. The dude understood the situation. He understood that he needed to take responsibility for his actions. And since then, his slate, for the most part, has been pretty squeaky clean. Shockingly squeaky clean, as a matter of fact. In his time with the Bucs, it all but disappeared. This, to me, really brought some ease of mind to his character issues, right? It doesn't wipe it away, but, man, it does make me feel a little bit better because 1 to 2 years of cleaning up an act, right, it wouldn't be enough for me in any given situation, even in relationships, like people can change for a little while, but then go back to their old ways. That's just, you can't really trust it until it's really been solidified. But he's really reined in his attitude over the last 4 seasons, 4 years. That's a really long time. And that really does reflect well on his ability to mature and straighten up. His slate isn't wiped clean to what he did in the past, but his recent history provides evidence that it won't be an issue now. He took responsibility. He owned it. And you know what? As a human being, people deserve a second chance, especially when they've given you an appropriate amount of time to prove that they've left those ways behind them. So that, to me, as angry as I continue to be at Suh for some of the things I've seen him do on the football field, I can't ignore the fact that he really has cleaned up his act over the last 4 seasons, and that's not a small amount of time. So that kind of does not put to rest, but definitely eases my mind on the topic of whether or not he's got the character to play with the Chargers. It's one of the last things I think that the Chargers fans are going to be asking me a lot about is what cost, right? How much would it cost to get a guy like Ndamukong Suh on the roster? Are the Chargers in a position to do so? Well, the Chargers currently do have $14 million in cap space, right? Keep in mind, we're already like $20 million over for 2023. We got some money to move around already. This is going to make any new additions very tricky for the Chargers. Even if it's a different position, right tackle, a lower compensated guy, it'll make things a little bit trickier. Tricky, but not impossible, I might add, though. If I'm Tom Telesco, though, I'm really keeping close tabs on the remaining cap that we do have in $14 million so I can roll it over into next season because that turns that $20 million into $6 million. That's super manageable, right? 1 or 2 cuts, you're in the green again, you're fine. But we also have to mention that Derwin James needs to be re-signed. That's going to be pretty pricey and a huge priority. I would rather the Chargers do that first before getting a guy like Ndamukong Suh. We got to remember Justin Herbert's got a contract coming up. The cap will increase, and by that time he needs a contract, we're going to have like $54 million in the bank already, not even counting what the inflation might look like. Chargers are in a good spot when it comes to Justin Herbert. When you combine that with Derwin James, though, and maybe a guy like Ndamukong Suh, things can maybe complicate a little bit. So could we afford Suh even if we wanted to? I would say, yeah, we could. With the cap being so malleable in the NFL specifically, right? You can really do whatever you want so long as you got the foresight to keep your ducks in a row. And if I'm Suh at this point in my career, I would expect anywhere in the realm of $5 to $8 million for a 1-year rental of any new team. If it's the Bucs, I can understand maybe wanting a little bit more. But with a new team, I think he's going to have to take a little bit of a cap hit there, a little bit of a pay cut there. And I think that's pretty realistic and reasonable. And this is something that I think the Chargers could work with, especially if Ndamukong Suh wants to play in LA with the Chargers, a team that is really loaded, that could give him some quality twilight years at the bottom half of his career. And the Chargers cap, again, will grow as cuts ensue in camp. So 14 million isn't a concrete number right now. Even if it's only growing by a little bit with these cuts, it will help in terms of maybe adding a guy like Suh for this season. And this will help the Bolts, hone in on a nice sweet spot to get a new guy like Suh on the roster, right? He wants to be in LA. We do have the money technically right now to do it. It kind of does fit like a puzzle a little bit. However, I do have to point out that a signing like Suh would potentially push away any possibility of signing other players at different positions, okay? The Chargers' biggest need as of right now, if you take a look at the roster, the biggest weakness is definitely right tackle. You don't need me to tell you that. Right tackle is definitely something that we hope to upgrade before kickoff, before, honestly, the training camp ensues. And we'd essentially be locking in our existing players on the offensive line if we signed a guy like Suh, because, again, there's just so little wiggle room. You can make space for a guy like Suh, but can you really make space for a guy like Suh and then, let's say, a serviceable right tackle? That's why I asked you guys that question at the top of the show. But I do also have to point out the Chargers' biggest weakness by far was our run defense in 2021. So it's really up to the staff to figure out what takes priority. The weakest position on the roster right now, or the biggest reason that we missed the postseason last year in our run defense. Kind of, a juggling act. Not to mention, we don't know what's going on in camp. We don't know how they feel about the guys on the offensive line or the defensive line as of right now. So finally, what people, I guess, the biggest question every time we see news surface like this, we see people's, especially big names like Ndamukong Suh, the biggest thing I'm always asked about is, will it happen? Okay? I'm going to be very honest with you guys. I'm pretty skeptical of this as a possible signing for the Chargers. But I really can't rule it out either. Okay? If I'm the Chargers and I'm adamant about adding a veteran defensive lineman to help mentor these young guys, to help versus the run, I would have 100% targeted Akeem Hicks a heck of a lot sooner, right? Brandon Staley knows this dude. Khalil Mack played with this guy for so long. He's a huge scheme fit. A running theme of this offseason has been adding stars that understand the system. And Hicks, of course, coming from the Fangio tree, like almost every other new addition this season, would have been the preferred guy. And he's a bit younger, maybe a little bit more on the injury-prone side, but definitely fits the Chargers a lot better than Suh. Suh doesn't fit as well. It doesn't mean he wouldn't be incredible. He would. He definitely would look very nice on this team. He's played a variety of different schemes, 4-3, 3-4, you name it. He's been around a long time. He's seen it all, and he's been very good despite where you put him. And that's another big thing about Suh I almost failed to mention. He's very flexible, very versatile. Play him all over, right? Over the center, in a gap, whatever. He's capable. He's very, very good. But it would be one of the only signings that doesn't carry history with Brandon Staley, okay? And again, breaking that pattern, it does support evidence that maybe the Chargers do pass on a guy like Ndamukong Suh. But most of all, I think the Chargers are very aware of their future financially, okay? That's probably the biggest reason. With Derwin and Herbert needing extensions in the near future, can we afford to poke the bear another time financially this offseason? As I said, yes, you can. You can make this work. You will be able to get the numbers to fit. $5 to $6 million, in the big spectrum, the wide spectrum of things is a small number, when talking how big Derwin and Herbert's deal is going to be, but it is something to consider. Do I see this happening? I guess I was kind of, beating around the bush a little bit here. Do I see Ndamukong Suh to the Chargers? Not really, right? My biggest reason is who we have in-house, okay? Along with the other reasons I listed, I think who we have in-house definitely doesn't really mesh well with needing another defensive lineman this badly, right? Sebastian Joseph, Dawson Johnson are going to be the anchors on this line, okay? But the guys behind them really do give me optimism that we can hold our own in 2022. Fayoko, the #1 run stopper in 2021. Covington, who just re-signed with the Chargers. Morgan Fox, a huge value signing. We got guys. Sure, I would love Ndamukong Suh and the Chargers. Just like I listed, earlier in the video, there are big reasons why you want Ndamukong Suh on the roster, especially when it comes to taking these guys, let's say like Braden Fayoko, to the next level. Mentorship from Ndamukong Suh is almost as good as it gets in developing these young players. So I would be 100% supportive of Suh joining the team, but at this point, I would err on the side of caution when it comes to our cap, also given, who we do have behind our starters. I feel like we really did load up. We covered our bases in terms of backups, and I feel like we have a nice rotation already. So I'm in support of it. I don't think it happens. But again, there's a lot of reasons to support the idea too. But I'm just going to take a stance and say, no, I don't think it happens. But There you go. So what do you guys think, man? What do you guys think in the comment section below? Do you want the Chargers to go after Ndamukong Suh? Door's open. He's interested. The Chargers are a prime spot for a guy like this. Older player. He has a shot at a Super Bowl. He's got a shot at a very nice postseason, you know, percentage-wise. He's got great chances, right? He would look really, really nice in powder blue. He's put his character issues behind him. What do you guys think? You know, we listed a whole bunch of stuff in this video. What do you guys think? Do you want Suh? Yes or no? Let me know in the comment section below. And also let me know if you would rather have Suh on a 1-year rental. Let's say, let's cut it in the middle for $7.5 million. Would you rather have Suh for $7.5 million or an average right tackle, maybe a bit younger, average right tackle for around the same annual price? Let me know in the comment section below. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. Hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. If you did enjoy this content, we'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Ndamukong Suh, man.